Showtime! The Capital G show starts right now.
What's up YouTube, Capital G here, and I am sick again. Word of advice to you guys out there, whenever you guys get over a cold, throw out your toothbrush, because what happens is all your sick germs are in your toothbrush, and then when you're well, you brush your teeth and you put all that shit back in your mouth, and then like 3 days later you get sick again. So yeah, I'm an idiot. Anyways, I'm talking Mirror of Oaths in this video, and people requested in my last video that I discussed this card, and at first, I just kind of shrugged my shoulders and thought, why? And it was at this point that it kind of hit me. I had completely forgotten that Mirror of Oaths is actually still a really good card, and for quite some time, people used to side deck multiple copies of this card, like a lot of people. And when you look at it, it's like, how many other good side deck cards can you say, well, worst case scenario, I'm going to get a 1-for-1 and kill one of my opponent's monsters? One of the ironic things about Mirror of Oaths is, shortly after Tour Guide came out, when it first hit the scene, I kind of thought this card was going to be the nuts, but the problem was, too often people would just summon Sangan off that bitch, and it was like, okay, well, if I use Mirror of Oaths, they get a Sangan search. I didn't really accomplish much, Actually, a lot of decks just wanted the Sangan search to get like Rabbit or whatever. They didn't even want to exceed, so that didn't really help. And I felt like that alone curbed any interest that people had in playing this card in recent times. Like Tour Guide plus Sangan was just really bad for the playability of Mirror of Oaths. You can also combine that with the fact that recently Konami has been hammering out a lot of the incredibly powerful summon monsters from the deck cards, like Rescue Rabbit and Wind Up Magicians, and Mighty got the Banhammer, Dp-Ygo got limited, etc., etc. So, a lot of people were like, the few cards that Mirror of Oaths hit, they've all been kind of hit by Konami, so there's really not a need for it. I think that's going to change, and I think that Mirror of Oaths is going to get more viable by the format. And I think a lot of it has to do with some unexpected things that happened on the ban list, and I think some of it has to do with, you look at some of the more explosive decks in the format, and it kind of like hinders a lot of their explosive plays. You take this format alone, and you had LONEFIRE Blossom and Tour Guide from the Underworld at the same time, both moved down on the ban list. And if you're like me, you were probably waiting for LONEFIRE, and you never really saw Tour Guide coming. I don't really think anybody saw that. But don't kid yourself. I mean, even if the rank 3 pool isn't as good as it was, previously when Tour Guide was just wrecking shit up with Mighty, Tour Guide is still way too strong of a card to ever think that people are just going to abandon it completely. I mean, hell, it's probably going to end up getting semi-limited again. And you look at LONEFIRE Blossom, and this is a card that I honestly think is going to be at 3 within the next 3 months. And you look at the new plant support that's coming out in future sets. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but hasn't like every competitive plant deck ever usually ran LONEFIRE Blossom? And a lot of times they max out on it. So, LONEFIRE Blossom is probably going to be seeing some play. Tour Guide from the Underworld is going to be seeing play. And that explosive deck that I was talking about, you look at Karakuri, sure it only works against Beret and Beredo, but 90% of the time that Karakuri wins, they want to go into one of these synchros. I mean, yeah, there may be a game here or there where they just make Naturia Beast and sit on a Fiendish Chain, but that's kind of like the outlier. Most of the time, they want to go into those plays, and this is a great counter for it. You look at the MADOLCHE matchup, it works against HOOTCAKE, it works against Angeli. You look at Mermail, it works against Abyss Sphere, it works against Abyss Lende. Not to mention, we know that Gladiator Beast Augusta is completely legit, and that's going to be coming out in future formats. And, when that card comes out, I expect Gladiator Beast to see more play. And, I mean, we all know that Mirror of Oaths just puts in some serious fucking work against Glads. I mean, like literally every single time that they tag, the card is live. And, I'm not saying that you guys should jump on these right now or slam 3 copies into your side deck. I'm just saying that this is one of those cards where you should keep your eye on it, because, as LONEFIRE and Glad see more play with new plant support, new Glad support, Tour Guide is now at 3. I just feel like the card is going to be more viable. If Mermail players ever start running Diva again, that's just going to be another card in a deck that it hits when it already hits 2. It's really good against MADOLCHE. That might be a deck that sees more play. It's actually, I was thinking about it. It's such a shame that they didn't make it a counter trap. Like, oh my goodness, you'd be able to use it against like Shura and Mystic Tomato. Jesus, it might have been like OP. Like seriously, it would have been a side deck staple, wouldn't it have been? Anyways, thank you guys for watching as always. Take care. Subscribing makes life happy.